Hello! The air conditioning's on. I apologize if you can hear it. I have 2 teen books, 2 middle grade books, and 1 adult book to review for you today. What did I do with the middle grade books? They're over here. This first one is The 14th Goldfish by Jennifer L. Holm. This is about a girl whose grandfather is a well-renowned scientist. He discovers how to make himself young again, but since there are no witnesses to him making himself young again, he gets kicked out of his lab and he comes to live with his daughter and granddaughter. This book was pretty good, maybe 7 out of 10. The writing style was a little young for me, so I'm trying not to take points off for that. It was a really interesting yet simple story. I think it definitely had some moral questions come up about science. I definitely learned a little bit about the history of science reading this. It does have a lot of references to great scientific achievements and great scientists of history. I would recommend this to kids who are just learning to read, who are really into science. The next book I have to review is Bewitched by Kate Saunders. Bewitched is about a girl who is very spoiled and very upset about being sent to a boarding school by her parents. Even though it's a very luxurious boarding school, pools and horses and all that kind of stuff. But on the train ride there, she finds herself going back in time to, I forget what time period exactly. It was a few years before the Second World War started, and then she gets enrolled into a very strict boarding school in that time period. This was also a very interesting story. I think I'd give this book 5.5 out of 10 stars. I really liked the way it ended, and I really liked the idea in the story. There was a lot of stuff happening, but I just didn't find it too interesting. I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction, so I think I would recommend this to someone who is into historical fiction. Now on to the teen books, the YA books. The first YA book I have to show you today is Ruby Red by Kristen Gear. This is the first in the Precious Stone trilogy, I think it's called. It is about a girl named Gwyneth who is in a family of time travelers, except not all of them time travel. It's just certain people in her family that have a special time travel gene. In this book, Gwen discovers that she has the time travel gene and everyone else thought it was going to be someone else. So she has to deal with being able to time travel and a lot of traveling through time involuntarily. Every time traveler has to travel for 3 hours a day or else they do it involuntarily. So she's thrown into all that and she's completely unprepared for all of it because her family has been really secretive about time travel stuff. So she has to try to figure things out. I really enjoyed this book. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I found it really interesting. It's definitely a starter book though, because there was a lot of information being given about all the time travel and it's kind of a complicated system, so there was a lot of explanatory in this. It didn't feel info dumpy, but I could see why someone might find certain scenes in this book to be pretty slow. I really enjoyed them. I thought it was really interesting. There was also a little bit of action in here and a little bit of bad language too. This book kind of read like a TV show for me, which I kind of liked. It felt like a dramatic situation comedy. I really liked all the laws of time travel. I really liked reading from Gwen's point of view. She is very funny and very sarcastic. Like, I think this is one of the favorite point of views I've ever had in a book. I would recommend this for 12 or 13 and older, people who enjoy sitcoms. The next teen book I have for you is A Midsummer Night #NoFilter by William Shakespeare and Brett Wright. This is William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, translated into text messaging. Everything's translated into text talk, which I think this is a really great idea. I give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason I don't give it a 10 out of 10 is because there was a little bit of bad language in it, which I was really disappointed about. I don't think it ever explicitly said the F word, but it did have some WTFs and EEFs. This was very entertaining for me to read. I feel like when I read the actual play, I'm going to understand it a lot better. I still had a little bit of hard time figuring out what the text talk meant, but it was a lot easier to decode than Shakespearean is. It's really short. I read it in a couple hours and it was really good. I really enjoyed the story and I really think it's a really genius idea to translate it into text messaging. I will definitely be getting more. I already have A Christmas Carol translated into text talk. I would recommend this for like high schoolers who are studying Shakespeare or high schoolers that just like Shakespeare, because this really helped me understand what was going on in the story, and when I read the actual play I think I'm going to understand everything a lot better than if I just read it without this. And now we're finally going to talk about the adult book I read. Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is a graphic novel. This is about a girl named Katie who's in her 20s. She's running this restaurant called Seconds. At her restaurant, she makes a big mistake and it causes some bad stuff to happen. But that night, she discovers a mushroom, a notepad, and a little note telling her to write down her mistake and ingest the mushroom and go to sleep. So she follows these instructions, and when she wakes up in the morning, it's as if the mistake didn't happen. A lot of magical elements to it. It gets really interesting and a little creepy. I was reading it at night and I had to stop because it was getting a little too creepy to read at night. This definitely isn't a kid's book. It has a lot of bad language in it and some sexual scenes in it. Not, that feels like the wrong word, but like there is some mature content in it. It's not porn, it's just kind of suggestive. There is also a gay relationship that's kind of thrown in. You can take that information as you will. I think I'm gonna give this book 7 out of 10. I really liked the story and the art style and the narrative. They all work together to make a really good story, but some of the mature content in it seemed a little unnecessary to me, and I felt like that could have just all been left out, and this could have been like a teen or a middle grade book instead of having to be an adult book. It probably still would have been an adult book because it has an adult character in it. I still don't see the need to add bad language in it. It was really fun and interesting, and it was a really good story. It wrapped up really nicely too. It has some Wrinkle in Time vibes. I would recommend this to people 18 plus who like mysterious and magical stories. So these are the books I reviewed for you today. I hope that you found this informational and that my review helped you decide to or not to pick up a certain book or brought a book to your attention. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm thinking about making this kind of video a regular thing, so if you agree with that, leave a like and a comment, and then of course subscribe. I have a few book talks coming up soon, so keep an eye out for those. I'll see you guys later. Bye.